Hi, my name is Steve Stine from GuitarZoom. First of all, thank you so much for all of the discussions that we've had over on the Facebook community page, the GuitarZoom community page, about how to clean up the guitar playing, the thing we did in the first video. It was awesome to hear that so many of you had such success with learning how to take those solos that you're learning how to play and just clean them up, because it makes such a difference. I mean, it's an incredibly easy thing to do once you start learning how to think about it, but it's also incredibly important because otherwise you get so much unwanted noise. So it's really important. Over the last 27 years that I've been teaching guitar, I have found that when I talk about guitar soloing, learning how to clean up your tone a little bit, how you're picking, altering your picking just a little bit, and then learning how to clean up that fretboard as you play by touching those strings can make an enormous difference. So I'm so glad to hear that that's working for you. And again, if you have any questions, please log on to Facebook, go to GuitarZoom community page, and let's talk about these things because I'd love to help you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on and we're going to start talking about some vocal qualities that we use in guitar playing. And I'm sure it's probably things that you've done before, but I want you to really think about what they sound like and what they feel like. So the first thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the idea of bending. Learning how to really do an effective bend. For me, if you listen to someone like Eric Clapton, or you listen to Jimi Hendrix, or you listen to, like, one of my favorites would be David Gilmour, Joe Bonamassa, there's just a ton of players. One thing they all have in common is they're awesome at bending. Which is how you make the guitar sing, right? That's really important. So I want you to start thinking about this. Bending has a purpose. You're bending to a certain place. You're not just bending a string up in the air, but you got to bend it to a certain place. And what I want to talk to you about today is the most important of those bends, which is what we call a whole step bend or a 2-fret bend. So I'm going to be in G minor just like I was in the first video. What I want you to start thinking about are the 3 primary bends that we use in music. And what I want you to really be aware of is how they feel and how they sound. Not just how quickly can I do them and move on to something else, but really taking your time with these bends. So let's go to the 5th fret of the 3rd string with our 3rd finger. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the other 2 fingers on that same string. So my first finger's on the 3rd fret, my middle finger's on the 4th fret, my ring finger's on the 5th fret. I'm going to grab onto the guitar, kind of hooking on the back here. I'm not sitting down like this because then I have nothing to anchor with. My thumb is kind of over the top, and I'm going to turn like I'm opening a doorknob. I'm twisting a doorknob. I'm going to keep that thumb up there, and I'm going to turn against it like this. So the first thing for you to get used to is the comfortability of just being able to move that string up. So you do have to have some room underneath here as you turn. Now, if I take my fingers off and just show you the movement, you can see in the camera there, you'll see I have a lot of space underneath here. My thumb is right there, and I'm able to turn. So I'm not bending with my fingers. This would be bad. Okay, we don't want to do this. We want to bend with the strength of our wrist and our forearm and our bicep by turning that. Okay, now as you do this, there's a couple things that you might notice about your guitar if you've never really thought about this. If the strings are way too low to the guitar, sometimes it's hard to grab it and twist it. The string will tend to want to just fall underneath your fingers. And what I like to do is that when I bend, I kind of hook it on the tip of my finger, which you might be able to see. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that, but I've got a little mark right on the tip of my finger. As I turn that up, I can grab it and hold it, okay? So I like my strings low, but I can't have them so low that I can't actually grip that string. That would be bad. The second thing to think about, which is really important, is the string tension, the thickness of the strings that you're using. Sometimes when we start learning how to play, we have super thick strings on there because it creates better tone and more vibration and blah, 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 which is all true. But you still have to find the right string that's comfortable for guitar soloing. Okay, if you were nothing but a rhythm player and all you did was bash chords all day long, you could have super thick strings on there. But you've got to be able to manipulate these strings to to be able to control them, to make them sound like a voice, to be able to bend with those. So what we're doing right now is we're on the 5th fret here of the 3rd string, and I'm doing what I refer to as a whole step bend or 2-fret bend. So we want this 5th fret to sound like the 7th fret. So what I do is I head up to the 7th fret, play that note, listen to it, and then go back down and bend it until I hear that sound. Okay, so every guitar is going to feel different. Some guitars have 24 frets, some have 21, some have a whammy bar or a floating tremolo like this, some have a standard bridge. They're all going to feel different. So the trick for you is to use your guitar, obviously, and figure out what feels most comfortable for you, and then maybe someday you're going to have to rethink what you're using. If you've ever seen any of my other videos, you'll notice what I don't use a lot are guitars like Les Pauls. I have a tendency of using more Strat-based, whether they're actual Stratocasters or Ibanez stuff. And not because I don't like Les Pauls. I love Les Pauls. They just feel different to me, that's all. Or you might be just the opposite. You might love a Les Paul, and a guitar like a Fender might feel a little different. So always be aware that the guitar that you're playing is going to make a big difference on the way things feel. The strings that you're using are going to make a big difference on the way the guitar feels. You know, the pick that you're using, all those things. But let's try not to worry about all of that in the beginning. Let's just try and start developing the actual technique and be aware of how it feels and be aware of how it sounds to hit the right pitch as you play. Okay, so again, we're not worried about how fast we're doing anything. It's the bend, the actual motion of that bend, all of the stuff between this spot and this spot. It's all the stuff in between that makes the guitar sound awesome. All that out-of-tune stuff in between. So we don't always have to feel like we have to just do a bend and then take off and go do something else. Enjoy the bend itself. Think about all the cool things I could do with this whole step bend. I could bend it up. I could bend it up and keep picking it like this. I could bend it back down like this. Which is called a reverse bend. These are really cool. I learned how to do these from Ace Frehley from Kiss and actually from the Eagles too. You bend it up and then you pick it. And you start lowering that string. Or, I mean, there's all kinds of, listen to this one. This one's cool too. I can bend it. See? So the point is, it's not just a bend. The bend facilitates vocal abilities. When we bend on the guitar, it gives us the voice, the vocal ideas as we play. But in order to really manipulate the bend, we've got to understand how to do it. It's got to be comfortable. The guitar's got to be comfortable, the strings have to be comfortable, and certainly our technique of being able to do that bend has got to be comfortable. So what I want you to do is try this and see if you can start changing your perception a little bit of a bend, okay? Now, we've also got things like slides. And again, slides are very important to me because it's a great way of being able to start or stop a phrase. And it's also really nice because it gets you from point A to point B in a musical sense. So, for instance, I could slide backwards into a note or slide forward. Or maybe slide from one position to the next on the guitar. I might... See, so again, you can even do different techniques where you play something and you keep sliding back and forth between two notes. Now, let me put some bending and some sliding, and then the third one is going to be vibrato. And vibrato is done by giving a nice little movement of the string. You're rocking it towards the floor. You're creating a nice, even, smooth wave. You don't really need like a quasar kind of weirdness. You just need to keep it nice and easy. No hurry whatsoever, just learning how to relax. Okay? So I'm going to take those three elements, bending, vibrato, and sliding and use them within the context of this little jam track that I've got here that I'm going to provide for you as well. So here we go. Just start it from kind of the middle here. Slide. Take your time. Vibrato, bending. Just beautiful. So the more you stop thinking about everything as being like a certain path or a certain box that you have to do every single time when you play guitar, the cooler things are going to start sounding because you're not in a hurry to move from thought number 1 to thought number 2 to thought number 3. Take your time. Enjoy the ride, if you will. So it's not just about getting to a lick. It's what you do between now and when you get to that guitar lick. Okay? Now, we have 2 other whole step bends that I want to show you here. What we're going to do, we're still in G minor pentatonic. So I'm going to move to the 6th fret of the 2nd string. And again, I can check 2 frets higher. I'm using the same technique I did before. And I've got the 1st string at the 6th fret as well. So you see, I'm controlling all the strings like we did in video number 1. I'm picking. I can pick aggressively or I can pick gently, but because I'm actually picking kind of straight on, I have that availability. If I turn the pick too much, then the pick just kind of wants to slide through. I want to be in control of the volume, the dynamic. And all my bending, my sliding and vibrato. So it's kind of a quick summary, but I want you to start thinking about those things and how you can actually change them. Sometimes what happens is people have been playing for so long and they just take for granted how important those ideas are. And I always tell students, one of the most important things that you can do is not always have to try and shoot for the stars for a million things that you can't do. That's awesome. But think about the things that you already can do and how you could just change those a little bit to make them more musical. Because that's who you are at the core. The things that you already do are who you are. If we can make those things better, then your playing will be better, right? And then we can keep adding new ideas and fresh ideas, whatever they might be. We can keep adding that as well. But the first thing to do is to look at the core of who you are, the way you approach things, and try and just take those little ideas and make them better each time. So in video 3, we're going to start putting all of this together. Okay, we're going to start trying to take those solos that you're trying to create, and we're going to talk a little bit about phrasing and trying to make them more dynamic and exciting as you play. So please remember, let me know what you're thinking about these. Leave a response. If you have any questions or any comments, if you're finding it's helping you or you're having a problem with something, and please make sure you go to the Facebook Guitar Zoom community page and post something on there. Maybe you even post yourself jamming a little bit for us to see and give you some ideas and just banter back and forth and see how things are going. If you've got some questions, please post them on there. There's so many awesome people on there that are always willing to help in a real positive and respectful way, which is really great. And I'll be on there too, and we can talk about things. If you're finding it awesome, if you're having a problem with something, please let me know, and I'm here to help you. So take care, and I'll speak to you soon.